back to GearWire.com. I'm Owen O'Malley, and this guy right here is the Zoom G3. It is the latest sort of series of G multi-effects pedals, or guitar multi-effects pedals from Zoom. What separates this one from the G2 series and the G1 series is its basically workflow and graphical interface. The G3 is basically like three effects pedals. They're sort of sharing one chassis. You see we've got three different screens, three sets of three control knobs, and three bypass switches. So you can bypass each of these sort of modules individually. Each of these modules can hold an effect which is either an emulation of a stomp box or an amp simulation or a rack effect. And you get tons of different amps and pedal effects and rack effects to play with. It's sort of like an amp sim plugin, but in a sort of physical, sort of multi-effect floorboard form factor. And as you could hear at the beginning, there's also a looper built in and a rhythm machine. And you can't edit those rhythm tracks, but you get a bunch of different rhythm tracks to choose from. There's a couple different ways to sort of navigate around the patches on the G3. You can either use the patch select buttons up here, you kind of scroll up and down, okay? Let's go here. Now you can see we've brought up this patch that has in the first slot, we've got a spring reverb, and then we've got an FD combo, which is your basic clean tube combo. And then we've got a rack effect called air, which just adds a little sort of room tone. Let's just play that real quick. Let's just bypass each of those effects individually. First we'll bypass the spring. Let's bypass air. It's a pretty subtle effect, that one. Now we can also bypass the amp sim. That's just, your direct guitar signal. Now let's say we want to change one of these individual effects, like now we don't want a spring reverb, we want a distortion pedal. There we go, now we're at a distortion pedal. So you can see there's a bunch of different effects we can choose from. Tube screamer, well, T-screen. Now we've got a new effect in there. Now if we want to change any of these settings here, you can see each of these little graphical sort of icons has three knobs on the screen, and those correlate to the three physical knobs that are below the screen. So if we want to change the gain now, here we're changing the gain. It's kind of not a huge variety there, but we've got our gain up on our Fender combo. So let's turn down the gain in the Fender combo. Here, now we're getting all of our gain from our tube screamer. Now you can see on our tube or T-screen screen, there's only one sort of group of three controls. But on our FD combo, we've got tabs here. So now you can actually go deeper than just these three controls, which with these three parameters. You see, you get gain, tube, and level. So if we hit page, now we have access to a 3-band EQ. Hit page again, you've got access to a presence control, and you can change what cabinet your amp sim is pushing, what virtual cab your virtual amp is pushing. So now this is a US Blues 410. And now let's say we want a different reverb in slot 3 here. Now you can see I've scrolled to a type that says through, DSP full. That means that our first two effects here are kind of using all the DSP that is available in the G3. So even though we've got a comp overdrive pedal loaded up in this last slot, it's not going to be using that because we've already capped the processing power of the G3. But if we choose something else, let's go to, so instead of this air reverb, we want to do something called tiled room. So, very intuitive way of editing each of these patches. Having sort of instant access to your first level of controls with these physical knobs right here is great, and then you can get deeper control by hitting page and going into, you know, deeper parameter editing. When you hit the total button up here, you get control over your overall patch level as well as the order of the effects in your chain. You can also name your patch. You also get control over your external foot switch settings. Now, the G3 can accept either an expression pedal or a single function momentary foot switch. And you can assign either of those to pretty much any function in any of the three effects you've got loaded into your patch. Obviously, if you've got an expression pedal, that's going to come most in handy when you've dialed up some of the wah or the whammy style effects that are in the G3. But you could also set it to, you know, phaser rate, or amp gain, or, you know, overall patch output volume. You can kind of set it to whatever you want. Same thing with the control switch. Control switch you can use to bypass mute all three effects at once, or you can set it to a tap tempo. A bunch of different options there. So that's your sort of like patch level, sort of total patch level editing you get by going to total. If you hit global, then you get to your sort of like global settings for all patches on the G3. This includes a master level. You can set tempo from here. You can also tap your tempo in. In this first screen here, you can also switch your sort of master signal path, either from left to right or right to left. You get sort of your power management functions here. Now the G3, like you know, the G2.1U series pedals from Zoom, has a USB interface built into it. And so in this global settings menu, that's where you access your USB audio controls, your record gain, which right now is just at Unity, and the mix between your direct input monitoring and monitoring the returns from your DAW. Here's where you also check what version the system's firmware is. So hit global again to exit out of that, to go back to your home screen. Now from the home screen, you can go to 3 different modes that'll help you navigate through your G3 in performance. First mode you can go to is your patch browse mode. You hold down the number 1 bypass switch, and then you can scroll up and down through your patches with the number 2 and 3 switches. can hear there's a wide variety of sounds. Even the preset patches have a pretty wide variety of sounds from, your 80s rock to your classic rock to, there's a Moog mini synth in there, a couple of wacky 80s sequence effects and shimmer effects and, lots of stuff to play with. So that's how you browse through the patches. You get back to your home screen by holding down the patch button again. You get to your looper by holding down 3. Now, your looper operates in one of two ways. You can either set your length before you record your loop, and that's how we did the loop at the beginning, because we wanted to play along with the drum track. But you can just, using the first screen here, you can just go to manual, and that way you set your loop end by actually hitting the record button again. So you'd go like this. Now your looper gives you 40 seconds of looping time unless you engage the undo function, which you do by accessing the settings menu, which is in the third module here when you're in looper mode. Now when you engage the undo buffer, then you only have 20 seconds of record time. It's still quite a bit. Here's where you also change your the rhythm level, with the rhythm level of the backing track. On the first page, you change the level of the loop. You can see us playing with that a little bit at the beginning. We've also got a tuner built in. Just hold down your middle bypass switch, and it doesn't mute your signal, but this is now basically just your direct guitar signal. It bypasses all the effects. Okay, now we've got our guitar here capoed on the 2nd fret, which is why this is reading as F sharp. It's also displaying a note name because right now our tuner is in chromatic mode. We can also switch it over to guitar mode, and it'll give you a string number as opposed to giving you the note. Hit bypass to go back. Now the last screen, sort of last mode you can enter, you can't enter by hitting any of the bypass switches. You hit it by pressing rhythm. Let's see it again. So now we're in the rhythm sub-menu. You can set your tempo here, you can set your level. You can stop it and start it from here using this bypass switch. And you can also select your rhythm here. Punk, drum and bass, funk 1, funk 2. Oh, no funk 3? All right, I guess we get hip hop instead. There you go. Let's take a look at the connections in the back of the G3. So here's your input, and you can switch the impedance between passive and active. Now you want to select active if you've got a guitar with active pickups, or if you've got a pedal in between your guitar and the G3, so in front of the G3. Here's your balanced output. And you can set it to be pre or post effects. So you can record, this is the main output here, you could record your affected tone that's going through all of the G3 processing out of these main effects, and then still capture a direct signal to your interface, for example, by setting this to pre effect, which is what the default setting is. And here's your ground lift for the direct out. Here's your control input where you put either your momentary foot switch or your expression pedal in. Here's your USB out, where you can use the G3 as an audio interface. You can also connect the G3 to your computer and use Zoom patch editing software to edit your patches as opposed to editing them on the pedal itself. And here's your power switch. There's actually 3 positions on here. There's off or on, and in the middle you get something called eco. If you have your pedal set to eco, it will turn itself off after 25 minutes of no use, which comes in handy when you're powering it via batteries, which you can do. Although you don't really need to. One of the nicest things about this pedal is that it comes with the AC power adapter. I think the G3 is really excellent for practicing at home. It definitely was made for live performance. It was made to use in front of an amplifier, or you could use it in front of just like a PA speaker, because it has all of this amp sim software built into it, or these amp simulations built into it. But I think that the combination of the rhythm machine and the looper, as well as all these just, a ridiculous variety of patches and effects in the amp sims, makes it great for practicing at home, makes it a great sort of like songwriter's tool if you're a guitarist who likes to, demo out riffs. The looper is a great tool for that. And the left mono output also doubles as a headphones output, so it's perfect for at-home silent practice. And it's a pretty fun pedal, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's the Zoom G3. You've been watching GearWire.com, and I'm Owen O'Malley. Thanks for checking us out.